I'm so worried about my ColourPop Super Shock shadows drying out on me that I screw the caps on ridiculously tight and then I can never get them off. And it's really frustrating. It's a back and forth battle that I have with myself all the time. Hey guys, thanks for coming back to check out another video. So this is all of the eyeshadows that I have hit pan on or completed in the year of 2019, and I'm quite excited about this. So we are going to go through, I will show you everything, and some of these are in my Roulette pan in every palette challenge that I was trying to do, or am trying to do. So I'm just going to include those in with this, and so for those shades, I actually have stats of like how many times I use them, but for the other ones, I don't have stats like that. So there's that difference. And then at the end, we will talk about how many actual pans of shadow I have in my collection, what the percentages are, and kind of like goals for 2020 that I would like to accomplish and, you know, see out of my collection, because it's ridiculous. Let's just get into it and you will see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to start out with like the cream kind of shadows that I have. So this first one is from Wet n Wild. It is in the shade Nudecomer. And so here's what it looks like on the inside. It is just like this rose gold kind of cream shade. You can see, I hope, like all that pan in the center. There's just product around the corners. It's getting quite hard to like get the product onto a brush. And so I might like repress it by like scraping it back into the center, but not right now. This shade is not very pretty. It's not very impactful on the eyes. So I use this when I do like cut crease looks. I will use this instead of a concealer. And so that's the only way that I've been able to make this work for me. So I would not like recommend this or repurchase this or anything like that. But I am glad that I have found like a way to repurpose it and make it work within my collection. So let's move on into ColourPop Super Shock shadows. The first two you might have already seen. They're in my 21 by 2021. So my goal is to finish them off by December 31st, 2020. So here's the shade Set to Stun, and you can see the nice pan in there. I have really been working on this. This is a nice pink with like blue glitters. And I really like this shade. The blue glitters are not like in your face and like bam. So you could make this like an everyday shade, in my opinion. The next one that's in that same product, is the shade Birthday Cake. This is probably my favorite shade ever. And I don't know if you can tell, but in the center there is like the teensiest little bit of that like circular disc poking through. This shade, for some reason, like I've really been able to like wear it down quite evenly, as opposed to like just hitting that center pan and then like working out from there like I have with that Set to Stun shade. I don't know why that is, but yeah, this is probably like my favorite, just like taupey pink kind of color. I don't know. Don't take my color descriptions as the gospel, because I'm terrible at describing colors. The next shade is the shade Light Up, and my goal is to finish this shade. You can see like we do have like some of that nice side pan in there. This shade, when I bought it, this was one of their collaboration shades with Kathleen Lights. When I got this, it came to me like a little dry and crumbly. So I like crunched it up and mixed it with some vitamin E oil. So it doesn't perform or feel the same exactly as like a standard Super Shock shadow. It feels more like a cream eyeshadow. It still works really nicely. I still love it. It's like a great rose gold shade, but since it came to me already dry and things like that, like I would just rather get that one moved out too. The next shade is Birthday Wish, which was the shade they released for their 4th birthday. There you go. You can see that. I do like this shade, but it's like a silver, and then it has like purple and white glitters in it, at least to me. But I feel like if I wear this one just on its own, you have to layer and layer and layer and layer it to get like a impactful bam in your face. So I really like to use this one as a topper, to be quite honest. The next one is Lightning Bug, which is just this great like bronzy gold color, and I promise you, I don't think you can see it all that well, but there is like the teensiest little bit of baby pan in there. This one is much like birthday cake, where I've been able to like work the product down more evenly, but there is like the tiniest little bit of pan showing in the center, and so we counting it, okay? Because my bottom line percentage needs all the help it can get. The last one is the shade Three's a Cloud, and it's a much more like bam orange shade, and there's the pan in the center. This one is probably one of my least favorite shades, and it's just, I don't know, I don't think it plays well with like my skin tone and things like that, but it's here, it's in my collection, it's gonna stay, and you know, used it enough to hit pan on it, so there's that. Okay, so let's just get into the eyeshadow palettes that we have. So the first one that I will just show you, is what was my Pan That palette for 2019. So obviously I get so like hyper focused on like making progress in projects, and I'm gonna try to be better about that in 2020. So a lot of my shadows that I like finished and completed come from this palette. So that's good because I feel like I had a really successful Pan That palette, but it's bad because like a lot of other palettes got neglected in my collection. That's neither here nor there. Here is what this is looking like. So all of the little pans with X's on them are shades that I finished up within this year of 2019. So I'm not gonna like go through them or anything like that. They're in there and you can see them, and then you can also see all of the shades that I hit pan on within that palette. It would just be too long, and I don't want this video to be like super long. So the next one let's talk about, let's see. I also hit pan on, no surprise here, the cream shade from this Build Your Own Makeup Forever palette. I have my Tarte Clay Play Face Palette Volume 1. And there's pan on two shades in here, Solstice and Dunes, I think it is. Solstice is like the cream shade. I would love to, in the year of 2020, like work on finishing up Solstice. It's just such a major pan, but those cream shades are very easy for me to like roll through, I think. And it's not like very hard pressed within there, so I would love to go back into working on this one. And then, again, another cream shade. It's from the ABH Soft Glam palette. It's the shade Tempera. There's a little baby pan on there. I think you can see it. And let's just move into the Sultry palette. Yeah, so I have 3 more palettes in front of me, and they are all from my Roulette pan in every palette. So I have stats that I can share with you on how many times I used it before I hit pan or finished it off. So here's what my Sultry palette is looking like, and I'll try to get close in there. So the shade Fresh here, which was the matte cream shade, I used this shade 20 times, and then the pan on it got so big that I repressed it with another cream shade that we'll talk about, and then finished it off that way. Pearl in here I hit pan on. That is also from my Roulette pan in every palette. I used this shade 17 times before I hit pan on it. I know a lot of people like to use Pearl as like their brow bone highlight or their inner corner highlight, and I don't do things like that. Like I use like the matte creams, and then my inner corner gets gunky, so I don't put eyeshadow there. I really enjoyed Pearl as an all over like lid shade. I thought it was really nice that way. Cinder I had pan on from a different like project, and then Cyborg here is empty, but it's not completed. So this was like a great silver shade with like a purple undertone to it. And so within my Lorac Mega Pro 4 palette that I had, there was like this matte periwinkle blue shade that I just didn't like, I didn't jive with. So I mixed the two and like created a new shadow. And so here is what it's looking like. I have hit pan on this like Franken shade. So there's that. I'm calling that successful because this is like a 1-inch pan, and when I combine the two, like all of the product fit into this. So and then I think that was it. Oh, with Cyborg, I used it 2 times, and then I repressed it with that shade from the Lorac Mega Pro 4 palette and used it an additional 10 times. So it was 12 times in total before I hit pan on it. And then let's see, let's talk about this little guy. This is the Smashbox Full Exposure palette. So this empty pan right here with the number 19 written in it, 19 is so that I'll remember, like, oh, you cleaned that out and finished it up in 2019. This was a matte cream shade, and this was the shade. I got pretty significant pan on it as well, and so I ended up mixing it with Fresh from ABH Sultry. So with the matte cream in here, I used it 24 times, or no, I'm sorry, I used it 22 times and hit pan. Then I used it 2 more times to bring it to 24, and that is when I repressed it with the shade from the ABH Sultry palette, and so I just started obviously counting them as one. So all in all, I used it 53 times before I finished it off. And then this gold shade down here was in a different project pan, but it does have pan on it. This shade though, it's Shimmer 3, has pan on it, and it was one that was in the Roulette pan in every palette. So I used this one 18 times before I hit pan on that. I'm really glad that this little palette has been getting some use and some love, because I often forget about this in my collection because it is so tiny. And then the last shade we will talk about comes from the Too Faced Chocolate Bonbons palette. And this was a shade that was also in the Roulette pan in every palette. It's the shade Satin Sheets here, and I think you can tell like that the end of it has been like scraped out. And so what happened was I scraped it out, and I had a loose pigment from Pat McGrath, and so I took that from the Too Faced palette and combined it with the loose pigment from Pat McGrath and pressed it into this 1-inch pan and made this like really pretty like pink shade. And so, oh, well, I just hit pan on it. But, so here's the shade swatched out on my hand right there. It's like just this light rose gold shade. It's really pretty. But I just hit pan on it through swatching it with you. But the goal on this one, I don't want to count it that, so the loose pigment was not like in the Roulette pan in every palette, but the Too Faced Satin Sheets shade was. So until I finish this off, I'm not going to count it as that I hit pan, because I want to use up all of the products that I used to make this shade, and then I'll feel more comfortable saying like, oh, I hit pan, as opposed to like, oh, I hit pan, like, see it? Like, so hopefully that makes sense. But that is a look at all of the shadows that I have either finished or hit pan on this year in 2019. So now let's look at the numbers. So in total, when you count every single pan and every single palette that I have, you count all of my Super Shock shadows, you count, I even think I counted like my Stila glitters, because even though you can't like pan those, you can, you know, use them up and complete them. So, and I have loose pigments in here, everything that you can think of. So all in all, I have 495 eyeshadows. So in 2019, at this time in December, and I'm filming this on the 21st of December. So by this day, I have 21 pans showing an eyeshadow, or 4.24% of my collection has pan on it. I have finished 14 shadows within my collection, or 2.83%. So combined, all in all, I guess you could say like I have progress on 35 shades within my collection. So that combined percentage of 35 would be 7.07%. So that feels like such a low percentage. It's kind of sad. And obviously 495 like pans of eyeshadow is ridiculous. You don't need that much. Who needs that much? No one needs that much. So in the year of 2020, I really want to work on moving more shades out. And you know, just getting better use out of my collection. So I was surprised that I made progress on 35 shades just in this year. So yeah, we'll see. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I love watching videos like this. 1, because I'm nosy. 2, because I'm competitive. And 3, because eyeshadow is just my favorite thing ever. But I hope you guys are having like a good weekend, holiday, however you choose to celebrate it, whatever you're choosing to do. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye!